Good day, everyone. So, today we will be discussing one of the major structures of globalization, which is the global interstate system. So, last meeting, we have already discussed the two structures of globalization, which focuses on market integration, and the other one is the global economy. So, in this video, we will focus on the global interstate system. In this presentation, we will understand what is a state, what is an interstate relation mean, how neoliberalism differs from economic sovereignty, how globalization affects governments, and the institutions that help govern globalization worldwide. Let's proceed by understanding what is a globalization. So we already discussed in our previous topics the definition of the globalization, which is, the increasing global interconnectedness from one country to another across the world. It involves the movement of the goods, the services, the capital, the people, and ideas. Also, the technology, and even the culture across national borders, or from one country to another country. So it spreads around the world. Because of globalization, events in one country can directly affect others. So, di ba? Meron, for example, merong nangyayaring gulo sa isang country, pwedeng maapektuhan yung ibang country because of that. For example, economic crisis. Halimbawa, nagtaas or nagbaba yung presyo ng mga petrolyo, di ba? That affects other countries. Pandemics, di ba? During the COVID-19, di ba? From China, nag-spread siya to other countries, which affects the health of the people from other countries and also the economy of countries. Political conflicts can also or can quickly spread globally. For example, yung nangyayari ngayon between Israel-US to Iran na conflict, di ba? Na apektado yung ibang countries. So globalization is not only in economic, it also affects politics and, of course, the culture. So governments must now operate in a highly interconnected global environment. Next, we have the global interstate system. So when we speak of the global interstate system, this refers to the organized network of independent countries that interact with each other or with one another. So there is a network of sovereign states. So yan, connection, di ba? Even though globalization connects the world, countries or states remain the primary actors in international politics. So there is a structured political interaction. These states engage in diplomacy, in trade agreements, for example, alliances, and participation in international organization. And this is governed by international rules and norms, or the international laws, the agreements that, of course, kapag mayroong mga agreements, may rules or international laws, this will help maintain order and stability in global relations. So magiging maayos yung relationship between one state to another state, or one country to another country. Here is a short historical foundation of the global interstate system. So this was rooted in the Peace of Westphalia, established state sovereignty, and principle of non-interference. So the modern state or interstate system in the structures of globalization, it began after the Peace of Westphalia in 1648. So this agreement ended major European wars and established the principle of state sovereignty. So we have here, tingnan natin. So the Peace of Westphalia refers to the series of treaties signed in 1648 in the Westphalian cities of Munster and uh, Osnabrück, ending the 30 years war in the Holy Roman Empire and 80 years war between Spain and the Dutch Republic. So, ito yung agreement that are widely regarded as foundation of the modern international relations and the concept of the state sovereignty. So that is the Peace of Westphalia. Next, we have, let's now define what is a state and an interstate. So when we speak of state, there is a population. Ano? There is a permanent population. Defined territory. There is a boundaries. There is a government. And there is a sovereignty. So a state, we define state as a political entity with four main elements, and that is the four main elements: the population, the defined territory, the government, and the sovereignty. So there is a permanent population, sabi ko nga. There is a defined territory and a functioning government, and of course, sovereignty. Ano ba yung population? Of course, these are the people living within the territory or a defined territory. While the territory clearly defined geographic boundaries. So hanggang saan ba yung hangganan ng isang state or ng isang country? So that is a defined territory. The government is the authority that makes and enforce laws. Di ba? Merong mga laws or mga policies or rules sa isang government na sinusunod ng mga tao doon. Ano? Sovereignty means that state has supreme authority over its internal and external affairs. For example, the Philippines is a state because it possesses all the elements. Di ba? Yung Pilipinas, meron tayong tao, the people, we have defined territory, we have the government, and we have sovereignty. Next, we have the key characteristics of a state. So we have here monopoly of legitimate use of force, the ability to enter international relations, and recognition by other states. So one of the main important or characteristic or the main characteristic of the state, of course, yan. The first one is monopoly of legitimate use of force. So ano ibig sabihin nito? This means only that a state or a country can legally use force through institutions like the what? Like the police or the military. While the other one, yung ability to enter international relation, there is an agreement and diplomatic relations with other states. So meron silang mga agreement na pinagkakasunduan or nagkakasundo sila sa isang, for example, rule or policy na pwedeng i-implement sa isang lugar. So lastly, we have recognition by other states. This is a crucial because international recognition confirms a state's legitimacy in a global community. For example, ano ba tong isang state na to? Meron ba tong magandang reputation? So, for example, may mga agreement, so apektado yung, kumbaga, nagkakaroon ng influence yung state to other state. Okay, let's proceed to the definition of the interstate. So, when we speak of the interstate, there is an interaction between states. There is, or it has diplomatic, or it is diplomatic, it is economic, and it has military relations. And this is based on mutual recognition. And the example of this is United Nations. So, a state, yan, refers to the relationships between between two or more states. These interactions can be diplomatic, as stated, such as negotiations and treaties, economic, such as trade agreements, or military, or yeah, such alliances. So these relationships are based on mutual recognition and respect of or for sovereignty. And for example, countries interact with the United Nations to discuss global issues and resolve conflicts peacefully. Okay, let's proceed now to the characteristics of an interstate. So there are several characteristics of an interstate, and some of which is na-discuss na doon sa characteristics of a state. So here we have the sovereign states as a primary actors. There is a territorial boundaries. There is a legal equality of states. There is a diplomatic relations, a balance of power, an anarchy, or there is no central government, and there is an interdependence. No? So the first one, when we speak of the sovereign states as a primary actors, this means that one state or a states are the main decision makers in global politics and control their own territories and affairs. Example, si France ngayon, ano? So, si France independently determines its domestic policies without interference from our or other countries, ano, from other countries. So, next, we have territorial boundaries. So each country or each state operates within defined geographic boundaries or borders that determine its authority. So hanggang saan lang ba sila pwede for example, hanggang saan lang sila pwedeng ipatupad yung isang policy or yung isang implemented rules sa isang state, ano? So that is territorial boundaries. So the border, for example, 'di ba? Magkatabi lang si India and si Pakistan. So the border between the two countries defines where each government has legal control even if some areas are disputed. So hanggang kung saan lang dun yung boundary niya, hanggang dun lang yung control ng isang country. Ano? So that is territorial boundaries. The legal equality of states, it means that all states are considered equal under international law regardless of the size and the power. Kahit maliit na bansa ka or malaking bansa ka, sa legal equality of states dito sa interstate, pantay-pantay lang yung treatment. Ano, pantay-pantay lang yung treatment when it comes to the international law. No. Example dito is halimbawa si UN General Assembly or the United Nations General Assembly. Halimbawa, si Malta is small country while the United States is a large country, di ba? Malaking bansa yung country composed of different states. So have one vote each, di ba? Pag may election, isa lang yung boto ng isang tao. So that is the same to other countries. So next, we have diplomatic relations. So states interact through diplomacy, including treaties, alliances, and negotiations. So example, kung nabasa nyo online, di ba? Si Paris Climate Agreement or the PCA is a treaty where multiple states cooperate to address global warming. So pwede nating, for example, pwedeng ma-adapt ng bansa natin para makatulong tayo sa global warming or mabawasan yung global warming. Next, we have the balance of power. So states work to prevent any one country from dominating the system, often through alliances. So, meron tayong tinatawag na NATO or the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, which is formed or was formed as an alliance to balance the influence of the Soviet Union during the Cold War. Then we have the anarchy. So ibig sabihin, there is no central government. So there is no global authority above states. Order depends on cooperation and agreements. So depende sa cooperation or sa agreement yung ipapatupad na rules sa isang or policies sa isang state. Example, di ba? Si China is a powerful state or a country but cannot enforce rules globally without the consent of other states or international institutions. So, hindi sila basta-basta nakapag-i-implement ng isang rule or nakokontrol yung other countries without the consent of other states or international institutions. And the last characteristic of interstate, we have the interdependence. So this means that states are connected through trade, through finance, migration, and international institutions. Example, di ba? Example natin, si Germany. So, si Germany rely on global trade networks such as exporting cars and machinery to countries around the globe, di ba? Pwede si Germany, for example, can export and import products from other countries. Papasok sa kanilang bansa and papalabas sa kanilang bansa. So those are the key characteristics of an interstates. Now let us proceed to neoliberalism versus economic sovereignty. So what is a neoliberalism? Ano? Sa neoliberalism, there is a free market policies, there is deregulation, privatization, and there is a reduced state intervention. Example of the institutions related to neoliberalism are the International Monetary Fund. We have also the World Trade Organization. The neoliberalism is an economic philosophy that promotes the free market policies, the privatization, especially of the government-owned industries, the deregulation, and the reduced state intervention in the economy. So, it encourages open trade and global economic integration. Its institution or the institution that is more likely related to the neoliberalism is the IMF or the International Monetary Fund and the World Trade Organization, which they promote policies aligned with neoliberal principles, encouraging countries to reduce trade barriers and liberalize their economies. So that is neoliberalism. Ano, tandaan, there is a free market policies, there is a deregulation, there is a privatization of government-owned industries, and there is a reduced state intervention in the economy. While the sovereignty or the economic sovereignty, this has a national control over economic policy, there is a protection of domestic industries, and there is a regulation of foreign trade and investments. So dito sa economic sovereignty, states' ability to control its own economic policies without external pressure. So, kaya nilang i-control yung sarili nilang economic policies with their own. Ano? This may include imposing tariffs, yung mga taripa, regulating foreign investments, or supporting local industries to protect, of course, their economy. Ano yung ekonomiya ng isang state. Governments that prioritize economic sovereignty aim, of course, to protect national interests and reduce dependence on global markets because yun na nga, they protect, they support their local industry. So, sino ang makikinabang? Yung country nila or yung lugar nila or yung state nila. So, let's differentiate the two. So, we already defined from the previous slides, neoliberalism versus economic sovereignty often has a tension between the two, but dito sa neoliberalism, it promotes open markets kasi nga doon sa una, free market trades or trade. So, of course, magkakaroon ng open markets and reduced government control. While the other one, the economic sovereignty, it emphasizes on national control and protection for each, for example, goods and services of states. Example, developing countries sometimes face pressure to liberalize their economies, which may conflict with their desire to protect domestic industries and maintain economic independence. So that could be the effect of this to developing countries. So what are the effects of globalization on governments? We have here number one, the political effects. So apektado yung politics, I mean yung government. Ano yung government? So increased international cooperation, there will be a reduced policy autonomy, and there is a growth of global governance, global governance. So of course, in the increasing globalization, the this increases the cooperation among governments, but it can only reduce their policy autonomy. Ano? The governments may need to follow international agreements or standards limiting their freedom in decision making. So, kung merong globalization or the global interstate system, apektado yung for example, implementation ng policy sa isang country kasi nalilimit lang yung freedom nila in decision making. So global governance structures are becoming stronger, influencing domestic policy. So pwede nilang pakialaman yung uh, ipinatutupad, for example, na tariff sa isang goods and services sa isang state. Sa economic effects naman, meron tayong trade expansion, foreign investments, and global competitions. So globalization expands trade and attract foreign investments. However, it also increases competition. So nagkakaroon ng competition kasi yung product ng isang country, or ng different countries, pwedeng mag-compete to each other even though the same lang yung purpose nila. So powerful economies like the United States, yung example natin, and China, di ba, mga malalaking bansa, mga powerful na bansa, significantly influence global markets, which can affect smaller economies and their decisions. So, pwedeng, for example, may pumasok na business sa isang lugar, sa isang small country, can affect the domestic or the local brands. That is the economic effects of global interstate system. The next one, we have the administrative and social effects. So it could affect the policy reforms, the transparency standards, and the governance adjustments. So governments adopt reforms, of course, to align with international standards. Kasi baka mapag-iwanan sila, di ba? This includes improving transparency, accountability, and administrative efficiency, while the globalization pushes governments to modernize and adapt. So mag-a-adjust yung, for example, yung mga processes nila, yung halimbawa yung mga nangyayari dun sa lugar nila. So mag-a-adjust, magmo-modernize. For example, technology, 'di ba? Magkakaroon ng mga modern mga modern equipment doon sa isang state. So maa-adapt nila from other state. The next one, we have the global politics institutions. So, yung nauna is the effects of globalization. The next one is the institutions that govern globalization. Ano-ano ba yung mga institutions that will govern the globalization? So, we have the global politic institution or political institutions. The first one is the United Nations or the UN and the World Bank. So, ano bang ginagawa ni UN? Ano ba si UN? So, para saan ba si UN, di ba? So, this is an intergovernmental organization founded in 1945 to promote peace, to promote security, human rights, and development worldwide. With 193 member states, it provides a platform where nations collaborate on global challenges ranging from conflict, di ba? Kung mayroong mga conflict resolution or conflict, magkakaroon ng parang solusyon or para magkaroon ng maayos na relationship from one country to another country. So it work shapes international law, humanitarian aid, and multilateral diplomacy. While the World Bank, is an international financial institution established in 1944 to promote global economic development. And of course, to reduce the poverty or para matulungan yung mga tao para mabawasan yung kahirapan ng mga tao doon sa isang state. Headquartered in Washington, D.C., it provides loans, grants, and technical expertise to developing countries for projects that foster sustainable growth and improvement living standards. So this operates as a part of the broader World Bank group. So the United Nations, yan, promotes peace, security, and cooperation, while the other one provides financial assistance. So that is the example of global political institutions that govern globalization. The next one is the global economic institution. Yung isa is political, the other one is economic institution. Example is the World Trade Organization and the International Monetary Fund. Ano ba to si WTO? So this is an intergovernmental body that regulates and promotes international trade between nations. So established on January 1, 1995, it replaced the General Trade Agreement on Tariffs and the Trade, or yung GATT natin, yung GATT, yung GATT, to create a more formal system for supervising rules or the trade rules, the resolving disputes, and encouraging liberalized commerce. So, ang headquarter nito is sa Geneva. It now encompasses over 160 member economies, representing more than 98% of global trade. While the other one, the IMF, is a global financial institution created in 1944 to promote international monetary cooperation and economic stability. So, these play a central role on fostering global financial stability, facilitating trade, reducing poverty, and providing policy advice and financial support to its about 191 member countries. So, ano ba yung pinagkaiba ng dalawa? Si WTO regulates global trade rules while the other one promotes financial stability and provides loans to countries facing economic crisis. The last one, we have the regional institutions. So, meron naman tayong mga regional institutions. Yung mga organization, di ba? So, meron tayong example dito, the Association of Southeast Asian Nation or the ASEAN. Ano naman to si ASEAN? So, ASEAN is a regional intergovernmental organization founded in 1967 to promote economic and social cooperation among Southeast Asian countries, including our country, the Philippines. So, member tayo ng ASEAN. So, it plays a central role in regional diplomacy and economic integration, fostering stability and growth in a diverse and strategically important region. So, yan. Di ba? Si ASEAN is a regional organization that promote cooperation among neighbor states. To, of course, strengthen economic integration and political collaboration at the regional level. So, those are the different institutions that govern the globalization. Okay, that ends our discussion regarding the structures of globalization that focuses on global interstate system.